Hi, welcome to Splash Ink with Watercolor, Looking East, Painting West. I'm Barbara Gottesman. I'm going to tell you about Splash Ink, and Ming Franz will demonstrate the step-by-step instructions from the pouring to the finished painting. Let me tell you what Splash Ink is first. Splash Ink is when the artist throws, pours, or splashes ink onto rice paper, which is taped to a backing board. Then the artist tilts the board and makes the colors run into each other to form an abstract form. After the sheet has dried, the artist studies the resulting abstract forms and thinks about how the painting could be finished. Then, using Eastern, Western, or traditional finishing touches, or a combination of both, the artist finishes the painting. Splashed ink began centuries ago in China. In the beginning, the artist used only black ink or shades of gray on rice paper. As centuries went by, some artists added shades of gray, and very gradually, splashes of color here and there. Ming's unique contribution is that she adds Western watercolor and Western finishing touches to the splash ink paintings. The result is a unique combination of abstract form, traditional finishes, and Western watercolor finishes to make this a dynamic, lively, and very unique part of 21st century art. Ming has vast experience in Western watercolor and much experience in painting watercolor. She is a hiker who loves nature, mountains, rocks, and waterfalls, and many of her paintings reflect her love of nature. The result is not a static landscape, but a lively, flowing, emotional expression of her art. The artist who looks at this DVD can easily adapt this style to her own or his own unique combination for art. The serendipity is combining Chinese tradition with Western watercolor with a unique new blending called Splash Ink. Ming's innovative style is very exciting. With all the workshops and demonstrations she has done, students delight in throwing ink across the paper, splashing color on top of it, tilting it and making it run until you get very abstract and interesting forms. Then the hard part comes of adding the finishing touches. Ming Franz is going to show you step by step how to do this exciting new form, Splash Ink with watercolor.
Hi, I'm Ming Franz, and today I'm going to show you step by step how to do splash ink painting. And I started painting when I was 8 years old, and how I get to like splash ink painting, that was back around about 1996. I went home to Taiwan, and I was in airport and I saw this master Zhang Daqian's painting, and I fell in love with his painting, and he changed my life in art. So this is a very different type of painting. It's not a still life that you see things you paint. It's a lot of it from your experience and how you finish the painting. So the first thing I'm going to show you is material. First is paper. I use Ma paper, M-A, Ma paper. It's a rice paper. The reason I use Ma paper is because this paper, no matter how wet, it does not tear. And it blends in really nicely. So, and then you use a foam board. Which you could use gator board, or you could use insole foam board that you could, if for construction, you could get it in Home Depot. And then you use masking tape, tape 4 sides. And when you cut the paper, it's good to cut to a standard size, so it will be easy to mount and easy to frame. Okay. Now the second thing is the liquid watercolor. In the old days that I used the water and mix with tube watercolor, and I used the whip and whip them. Now I found a very nice liquid watercolor. It's called Laskas series. And you can get this in Jerry's Artarama. And I use 3 different colors. Blue, red, and yellow. That's a transparent color. And I also use this is called Chinese brush ink, also called Sumier ink. Okay, it's black. Okay, and sometimes I use white ink for like clouds and river or things like that. But this is opaque, so I try not to use as much. And I also found another liquid ink is Dr. P.H. Martin's ink. And it gets more vibrant colors. They are different, but my favorite was Laskas. And now what I do is I have a little bit of water on it, and then I pour the ink in. And how much water is in your own judgment. If you like the color to be more intense, then you put less water. But if you like the color to be lighter, then you put more water. Why I use transparent color for pouring, it's because when you pour the color, they're blending together and then it change color. Say like blue and red, it will become purple, and red and yellow will become orange, and then yellow and blue will become green color. So you don't need a lot of color when you do the pouring. But sometimes I do mix two different blue colors, or 2 different red colors, so that create a different red. And we do need a spray bottle to wet the surface so the ink will run faster. Okay. And then I use opaque watercolor to do the finish touch. Okay. And sometimes I use watercolor techniques, like I use salt and I use detergent to make like a snowy look like. And sometimes I use this acrylic to give a touch, a nice vivid looking. And also I use the gesso. And if you never used gesso before, try to experience first before you use it, because it dries very fast and sometimes can tear your paper. And it's better to dilute with lots of water. Okay, I use it for clouds. Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about the finish touch. In the finish touch, it's better use opaque watercolor, or if you are familiar with acrylic or pastel, you can use that. But never use oil. Never use oil painting, because it's too thick. It will rip the paper. So I usually I use Chinese ink that is in a tube, or I use opaque watercolor. Okay, and sometimes I just get it from the tube. And the brush I use is, if I'm using it to use Chinese finish touch, then I use Chinese brush with the black ink. And sometimes I add a little bit of watercolor on it. And then I use watercolor brushes. I use the thin brush to do the trees and leaves, and sometimes the small one to do the tree trunks. And I love using oil brushes to make tree leaves and stuff like that. And because this brush is thicker and heavier and usually bring out a very beautiful colors. And I also use the wash brush is to brush on, say, like a sky. The color is a little dark, and I dilute it with white ink. Okay. Hi, now I'm going to show you the pouring now. Pouring have two types. One is control pouring and one is random. Control pouring is better that you are experienced with painting and that you have an idea what you're going to paint, or you have a picture that you're going to paint and you have to plan it out and you have to pour very carefully. I don't use any masking thing or gum or anything. I just pour. But random pouring is easy. You just dump the ink, you just pour, and you just let the ink run, and then you will decide later how you finish your painting. When we do the pouring, we do from dark color to light color. In Western pouring, it's from light color to dark color. So this splash ink painting, we go from black ink to blue to red to yellow and to white ink. Okay. And here I have a foam board. It's called Insol foam board, and I got it in Home Depot. And I tape 6 layers Ma rice paper on the board. Why? Because the rice paper is very thin, and after you pour, it soaks in, and so you will finish with 6 pourings, and you can finish 6 painting at one time. So, and first thing is you gotta have a spray bottle, and you wet the surface. It's better to wet from the middle, but not too much, because too much water, it will run out and you will get a big mess on your table or floor. So just a little bit, as long as you get it a little wet so it can soak in. And now we're gonna start with black ink. And I wanna show you how to pour. If you pour outdoor, you can do it any way you want. You can just dump the ink, or you can drip, and you can do it any way you want. Or you can do it like Jackson Pollock, and just dip through, or, swish. And so now I'm gonna show you how I do it indoor. Indoor, you have to be more careful. So, but don't worry about it, just pour any way you want. So I'm gonna pour black ink now. Okay, and all masters, they like to pour one ink and then take outside, have it sun dry before they pour another layer of ink. And that way, the painting, when painting is finished, it has depth, it has layer. But you can also pour all the ink at one time and then let it dry. And usually sun dry is better than you use a hair dryer, because it creates a better effect. Okay? And when it dries, the color is much lighter. So now I'm going to pour blue ink. And you can just put it anywhere. You can put it on top your black ink, or you could put it other area. Because when this painting is dry, it's different from what you see. Okay. Now we're going to a red ink. Now we're going into yellow. Now you can start seeing the color merge. You see the green color now, and you see a little bit of brown. So this, when it all merged, the color change. So when it's dry, you would have, beautiful colors. And I don't use white that much. I only use it like if I want to make abstract painting and I'm not going to do any finished touch, or I wait till this painting is dry when I'm doing finished touch and I need to put some on the river, the clouds, then I pour red a bit on. So, but today I'll show you, I pour the white ink. Okay, and now is the time you can do some tipping, because indoor is a little hard because the ink will run everywhere. So when you do outdoor, you can tip any way you like. So let the ink blending together or merge together. Okay. And now is the time that you can put some salt or detergent, or use wrapping paper, saran wrap, for making like a rock or mountain and stuff like that. So what you do is you put it in the rock shape where it's wet, and just leave it till it's completely dry. Don't lift up when it's not dry. Okay. Just anyway, but try to do it like triangle. That would be prettier. So I'm making a triangle mountain, okay? And same time you can put salt. But salt will only work when it's wet. Okay. And detergent is to make it run like a, kind of snowy look scene. So, and that is using the watercolor techniques on this splash ink painting.
Here is a step-by-step pouring instruction. Use masking tape to hold the rice paper to the foam board. Wet your rice paper with a spray bottle. Remember, don't add too much water, otherwise the paper will become soggy. Going from dark to light, start with black ink. Add the blue liquid watercolor next. Then add the red liquid watercolor. Then add the yellow liquid watercolor. Finish with the white liquid watercolor. And now we have our finished pouring.
Hi. So after you took your pouring out to sun dry, you had to wait till it's completely dry before you peel each layer off. So in a sunny day, it's few hours the painting will be dry, but if not a sunny day, sometimes it takes much longer. But just to make sure that you wait till it's completely dry before you peel it. So I'm going to show you an example of this pouring that have 5 sheets. Okay, this is our first layer after the pouring. And I'll show you one by one. Second layer. Okay. And the third layer. fourth layer. And the fifth layer, actually each layer gets lighter and lighter, and they're similar, but they are different. Okay.
Here are two examples of splashing pourings by Ming. The first using Laskus Serious Liquid Watercolor, and the second example using Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid ink. And now Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid ink. Notice how the first pouring has the most intense colors. As the pourings progress, they become more faded.
When you finish, sometimes your pouring is too dark. So what do you do when it's too dark? That's okay. You can use lighter color or brighter color, like you can make a tree with yellow and green, or a pink tree or something, just to brighten subject to make it come out. So you can do that, or make a waterfall or clouds, so your painting will look very striking. What if it's too light? Okay, say your pouring is too light, then you can re-pour second time to make stronger. Also, you can use as a background to paint flowers or animals or any kind of painting. Just use as a background, okay? What if your pouring is not appealing? And I'll show you what you can do. This is one of the ones that I already cut. So what you do is you get the mats in different sizes, like 11 by 14, 8 by 10, or 5 by 7, and you just sort of go over your painting, and then you can make an abstract painting. Or you can even paint something on with make a small paintings. Okay, let me show you one more. Say this pouring, I didn't know what to do with this. So you can cut them up and make into an abstract painting. And it's beautiful. And then I usually make them or frame them, and I sell at the art shows. And that will pay for your art supplies. Now I'm going to show you how to look at the painting and how to finish your painting, or how to determine how you want to finish the painting. So now the first one, when you see this painting, it looks abstract and it has a very beautiful pouring, and you don't think you want to add anything to it. So this painting is complete. You don't have to do anything about it. It's a beautiful painting. Okay. So it's this one. And you done the pouring, you don't really want to add anything to it, so this is the finished painting. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a painting. This you can look in 4 ways. What I usually do is tape on the board or hanging somewhere, and I look at it in this way, and then I turn it and look in this way for hours. Not, sometimes the picture would jump at you, but it takes time. And or turn it this way, and then turn it again. So you look all 4 ways, and then you determine what are you going to finish. And what this painting gives to me, I like this view. And then this red area made me think about Sedona, all those red rocks. So I finished this painting using this view. And here is the finished painting. What I did is I put some trees and over the rocks, and then I put a water, and then some big tree here, and some grass and flowers. So this is called Sedona Woods. And it's from this pouring, and this is a finished painting.
Here are 4 views of Sedona Woods. Ming has chosen this view to finish her painting.
Okay, I'm going to show you some more example. Okay. This one, when I first finished, I decided to use, because it's so dark, I decided to use white ink to do a sketch. So I did one sketch like this with water and the trees. And then I did another sketch in a different side. I make a running water and a branch coming down from there, and this is all water. Then this is all 4 different ways. And this is another one with waterfall and trees and going up the hill. This is the upside down of this one. Okay. And then this just pure water running down. So on this 4 white ink drawing, I decided to finish painting with this one. So now I'm going to show the finished painting. This is my finished painting. So it's going from this painting and the white ink drawing and then finished painting. And I call this rainforest.
Here are 4 views of Ming's painting, Rainforest. Here are 4 views of rainforest with white ink. And now the finished painting.
Now, this pouring and this pouring was the same batch of pouring. And on this one, I finished the painting. This is a finished painting. So on one pouring, I finished 2 completely different paintings, rainforest and Tahoe rocks. Okay.
Rainforest. Before and after. Tahoe rocks. Before and after.
And now I want to show you one other thing. On this one, my finished painting is right on back of this painting. Okay. What I did is I divided the line and I make this bottom as a reflection. And on the top, I put a pine tree and a red tree. Usually, red color would bring out the painting. And then I use the dark black background as a forest. Then when I finished the painting, it didn't look, right. It just didn't have any focus point. So one day I looked through a park book. I see 1,000 cranes. So I said, oh, I can put some birds in. So I added 5 birds. And then this painting came alive. Okay. I also have one more painting I'm going to show you. This painting, when I first finished, it looks like a Paso Robles area of California. Like I was thinking to put some oak tree, and then it just looked exactly like Paso Robles. But when you turn it around, it looks like Santa Barbara, California. It was the ocean in the bottom, But because I love the pouring, the vivid green and everything, and it looks like you're looking at from the sky, looking down, so I call it bird's eye view, and I didn't want to put anything in because this is a very good pouring.
Here we have bird's eye view, number 1. And number 2.
This part is creativity. I want to tell you how I get the ideas and how I finish the paintings. This first one is called Io Valley Maui, and this is dried pouring sheets. And I haven't had any idea how I'm going to finish the painting.
Here's the Io Valley dried sheet.
And one day, Barbara gave me her photo when she went to Maui. With this photo, it's Io Valley, Maui, and I love these red flowers. So because of this picture, I got some idea, and I finished 2 paintings.
Here is the Io Valley photograph that inspired 2 of Ming's paintings.
This is first one I call Io Valley Maui 1. I used that red flower as a branch and finished the painting.
Here is the finished painting, Io Valley number 1.
And I also did another one. It's the branch coming out from the other side. So this is Io Valley Maui 2.
Here's the finished painting, Io Valley number 2.
I am going to show you a second example. Okay, this painting, this is a dry pouring sheet. And what I do is I did a pencil drawing on this dried pouring. It's like this. And there's trees, mountains, and water running. And this is how I finished the painting. So this is a finished painting.
Here we have one of Ming's dried pourings. And here is the dried pouring with a pencil drawing. And now the finished painting.
Okay, I'm going to give you another example, and it's the same thing. This is a dry pouring sheet, okay? And so I did the same thing. I do a pencil drawing. I put a tree here, and then hills and row and another tree. And this is how I'm going to finish my painting. And I'm going to show you this finished painting.
Here is another one of Ming's dried pourings. Here's the dried pouring with another pencil drawing. And now the finished painting.
Now, and I have another idea how to finish paintings. If when your pouring sheet looks like more pink, and you usually finish like as a spring painting. So I finished this one I call spring forest. I add a lot of cherry tree on it with waterfall. So this is a spring.
Ming's finished painting, Spring.
Okay, and then this second example is look like a winter because it's only blue and black. So I finished this painting, just added some snow, so it looks like a snowy scene. So it's a winter.
Here is Ming's finished painting, Winter.
And then I have one look like autumn. So it's because the color of the tree is changing color, and it's like orangish, and I just think of autumn. So this is autumn.
Finished painting, autumn.
Hi, and here is some more creative idea I'm going to show you. This very first one is I use the pouring background because it's very light. So I painted a plum blossom over it. So it could, you know, this light pouring can create very beautiful paintings. Okay, that's plum blossom.
Finished painting, plum blossom.
And I used the same ideas, and I created a silk painting. But I didn't use watercolor. I used dye and finished this splash ink painting. And this is soul effect in here. Okay, so this is lotus blossom. Use splash ink idea and finish. And I also use paper like this that I didn't know what to do and what to paint. I use as a gift wrapping paper. Okay. And I also use this as a book cover. So you can make a very pretty book cover in here. And last time, I print my cards out and I sell at the art shows. This also would pay for my, my art supplies. See, you can make a beautiful cards. Now we come to the fun part. This is called finish touch. Okay, pouring is easy.